Hi. I wanted to show off a demo of a little tool I've been working on called Plaque. Basically, I like things like Observable Notebook, Clerk Notebooks, Marimo, Pluto. It's this whole family of reactive notebooks that solve some of the problems with IPython notebooks and their state. And I wanted to see if I could get sort of 80% of that functionality with only 20% of the work. So the way Plaque works is it works on ordinary Python files. So you create a Python file, and then you run a Plaque serve acting on that file. And what that does is it launches a little sort of web server that will share a rendered version of that Python file. The benefit here is you don't have to use a different editor. You can use whatever environment you want. Here I'm using NeoVim, which is my editor of choice. And this is just an ordinary Python file, but every time I save it, the process will notice that it has been updated, and it will render it as sort of like a nice notebook. Top-level comments are, Markdown in these files. And they have LaTeX support through MathJax, so this can work as like a really nice sort of scientific notebook. But it's just ordinary Python, so you can kind of put Python in here as you write Python. This constitutes Python that's sort of evaluated as individual cells. You can use this $% thing as a sort of cell boundary if you want to isolate different bits of code. And it has support for sort of pretty display formats and stuff. So I could import, matplotlib here, numpy, and this should show up as a nice plot. And this thing, so unlike an IPython notebook, there's no hidden state. Instead, the sort of promise with a Plaque notebook is it's supposed to be as if you ran the whole thing from top to bottom. But to be a little bit more efficient, it only runs cells that you change and ones downstream from that. So if I go and edit this last cell, in the actual environment, it's only re-executed this code, and this code didn't need to be touched. And you can see that in the sort of the counts there. But this creates a nice sort of environment where you can edit the code, you can just save, you can sort of see an update, you can embed comments and things like this. It's a nice sort of environment. There's also top level F strings, which support including sort of quote unquote reactive elements. Here I'm including z+1 is 4. But there's a little bit of smartness here. So we're looking at the code, and when you go and change a cell, it will rerun that cell and all the ones sort of downstream of it that might have been affected. So we can actually skip this cell because it doesn't make any reference to Z, but we reevaluate this F string down here. So if you have kind of slow to load code or processing code, as long as you kind of put it higher up in your notebook, you won't have to rerun it every time. So there you go. That's the sort of basics of Plaque. Thank you, and yeah, please check it out. Let me know if it's useful.